Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service. This morning we're going to practice the loving kindness meditation. After the meditation, Sailesh Maharjan is going to give a Dhamma talk. After the Dhamma talk, the question and answer. Last item is the chanting. So right now, Reverend Chandasara is going to lead the loving kindness meditation.
Good morning to everyone. Now let's get ready to practice loving kindness meditation so that we take breathe in and breathe out 3 times to relax our mind and body. Be seated in a comfortable upright posture so that it makes it easy to practice a goodwill, good thoughts. So let's spread loving kindness towards all living beings. All living beings includes me, myself. So may all the living beings be free from physical illnesses. May all the living beings be free from incoming troubles. May all the living beings be free from mental illnesses. Let's continue spreading loving kindness thoughts in this way. We continue until we hear the bell sound. Let me repeat once again. May all the living beings be free from physical illnesses. May all the living beings be free from incoming troubles. May all the living beings be free from mental illnesses. Let's spread metta thoughts in this way.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now it's going to start the Dhamma talk. Today our speaker is Sailesh Maharjan. He's originally from Nepal, and he went to Sri Lanka and he studied there. He was a university teacher there. Then he come to this country, and he's doing a lot of work. Very busy person. Thank you, Sailesh, again being with us today. So you can start your Dhamma talk.
Thank you, Bande. Bande, it should be about 20-25 minutes.
You can start. Yes, you can start. 20-25 minutes, okay.
Okay, Bande. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to join this group once again. And I would like to request all of you, if you are comfortable, please turn the cameras on. At least we will have eye contact, because we cannot have physical contact these days. So if you're comfortable, please turn the camera on and we can see you and join in this brief Dhamma reflection time. And once again, it's a pleasure to join this group once more this year. And I thought to share a few ideas about Kamma. It's a very popular concept, especially in Buddhism, whether it is Mahayana Buddhism or Theravada Buddhism or even other types of Buddhist schools. Because Kamma plays a very huge role in our life, and most of the time, people have misconception about the term Kamma. The Buddha defined this word, Cetanahang Bhikkhave Kammang Vadami. So the Kamma is in the early Buddhist teaching, it is defined as volitional action is considered Kamma. Not any action, but volitional action, where you intend to do something. And that's what make your action a Kamma. If there is no intention, then it is not Kamma. It is an incident, but not considered as Kamma. So anytime we talk about Kamma, we get into this concept like, is Kamma fixed? So that's my plan for today. Is Kamma fixed concept? Whatever we have done in the past lives, and if you believe in past lives, and if you don't believe in one, that is fine. Buddha has no issue with that. Those who think, I don't know because I don't remember my previous life, then that's fine. If you believe, of course, this life, you have done all types of good and probably some bad karma as well. So we have accumulated some energy. It's just like the Wi-Fi or the electricity. You may not see it, but there is a flow. Now I'm managed to connect my internet to this computer because there is some sort of energy communicating through not visible to my bare eyes. So I'm not going to argue such thing doesn't exist. Similar argument can be applied to the idea of Kamma. So we have done good and bad karma, and that karma keeps to continue to influence our life. We get good karma, that's where we feel healthy, we feel stronger, confident, and manage to achieve so many things. And when there is bad karma that is producing result, you feel the difference. And in Buddhist script, there is an analogy to understand, how our life is affected or is being affected constantly by karma. For example, if you get two horses, there is these two horses running fast, and one of them will always move a little forward than the other. So it keep changing. Let's say a black horse and a white horse. So they keep, running faster than the other one. Now, similar concept can be applied to our life and the effect of karma. If you feel all these positive things happening in your life, you can assume, you can also feel, hey, good karma is giving result to my life. And when you feel down, you're sad most of the time, nothing makes sense, you're upset, things you try doesn't produce good result, that indicates that some bad karma is producing result. So karma is playing role, whether it is from this life accumulated or that coming from the past. But the important lesson that Buddha gives us is you don't want to change what you have done in the past, because if something already happened, you don't have any power. So for example, a person killed or hurt or did something wrong in the past, and you cannot go back and try to undo what you have already done. And something that is in the future, which is not here yet, you don't have much control of it either. That's why if you look at the Buddha's stories, all the examples that Buddha gave, now one very popular example I can think of is Bhikkhu Bhante Angulimala. He's a very popular character among many Buddhist schools. He was an excellent student, and because of bad influence, he turned into a notorious guy. And he is known as a murderer. He had to kill thousands of people, and he lost his path. Now, when it's a long story, you can search about his story, but when he was lost, he was on his way to kill his mother. He was so blinded by his evil thinking. He was chasing his mother, and he wanted to murder his own mother so he can fulfill his promise to his teacher. And while on this pursuit, the Buddha, he met the Buddha. And when Buddha met him, of course, Buddha gave him some options. He gave some advice. He opened his eyes. He told him, you are the one who's running. I am not running. That's a symbolic expression. He is running in samsara, but Buddha has already stopped the samsara. So he realized and he stopped. Long story short, Buddha took him into monastery as a student. Now, think about that now. If Angulimala was living today, and let's say Bhante Santi decided to make him monk in IBMC, imagine how many people will protest, right? He was a murderer. How could you do that? He killed my mom. He killed my dad. So there will be a lot of protest. There will be people talking, against Bhante. Probably Bhante got some kind of bribery. That's why he decided to get that guy in. So that's possible. But Buddha also faced similar criticism. And he didn't stop. Nothing stopped him, and he continued to guide him. And, eventually he turned into a good monk. In fact, even after 2,600 years later, when there is a pregnant woman in a Buddhist house, we still chant the sutta called Angulimala Sutta, because that murderer once turned into the most compassionate person and started blessing people who are suffering. So the point is, if you look at Angulimala's karma that he did in that very life, it changed, and he became a civil monk, an enlightened monk. And Buddha accepted, welcomed that person. So Buddha's attitude about the concept of karma is totally different than most people see. Most people think karma is fixed. You can't do much. If something bad happens, we blame the karma. If something good happened, we totally forget. It was also karma. So karma is also still on this universal principle of impermanence. If you feel good, it will change into bad, and vice versa. So how do we look at this karma? So from Buddhist approach, karma should be taken as something that you can do in the present moment. If you want to change your karma, you cannot do anything that happened in the past. It's up to you to do something right now, here. Now, for simple example, for daily example, karma can produce, like the original definition, your volitional action done by speech, body, or thought could produce karma. Now, those speech, bodily action, and thought happens in the present moment. If that present moment thinking, doing, and saying is mindful, you do carefully, That means you are more likely to avoid unwholesome karma and most likely to produce wholesome karma. So it's under your control. So karma is not fixed. We define our karma, and we can change the present moment action to produce different result in the future. Even you have done some of the, you feel that negative effect of karma, that is still not fixed. And that's what I wanted to highlight today. So anytime you experience change in your life, you experience sadness, you should be mindful. You should tell yourself, probably some of the bad karma is producing result. That's why I'm feeling this. And some people feel it different ways than the other. And there's a Buddhist analogy. And if you take a glass of water and you put 1 tablespoon of salt, you mix it and you drink that, that'll be super salty. Do you guys agree with that? Of course, right? 1 tablespoon, who drinks that? You don't need that. You can feel the taste. But you take the same amount of salt and mix that in big barrel of water. You dissolve it, you mix it, and you try to drink that water. You may not feel, you may not taste the salt at all. Probably very lightly, but you won't taste it much. Why is that? The salt amount was the same, but the quantity of water was different. And same thing is true about good and bad karma results. Each person feels the result of karma a little different way. If you have accumulated a lot of wholesome karma, consider yourself as a big barrel of water. So small bad karma, you may not feel the effect. And the person who has done less good karma, same bad karma can be very powerful, like the tablespoon of water, salt in a glass of water. So karma it's not fixed, it's not same to everybody. In fact, it's not even same to the same person in different timeline. So how do we take care of this? And it's not all based on what we did in the past or the karma. Sometimes karma can be changed. You don't need to give up like sometimes people, even in Buddhist monastery, I have heard in certain culture, like I lived in Sri Lanka for a long time. And I know some other Theravada Buddhist countries, we have misconception. We think, let's say somebody cannot study. If you met me 20 years or 25 years before, you would say that about me. I was not a good student. I was not a good child, a lot of trouble, a lot of issues. And if you see me, that's his karma. He brought that. So he's not going to be a good person at all. And that actually somebody predicted about me. This is like when I was very young, and my mom tells me those stories. But if that is to be true, I shouldn't be here today. I shouldn't be talking to you guys, you all of you who are smarter, who are, in a different level. So that was not true. So there are 4 things that you can use to even change your karma. And that's what we find in Abhidhamma. The number 1 is Gati, Sampatti, Vipatti. There's like a suitability and unsuitability. That's the Sampatti and Vipatti, the Pali term. And Gati means the form of life you are in. Now, we all are human beings today, right? If you have done good karma, you're more likely to feel the result of your good karma because your form, your life is as human. Now, I see Rob Ford has a cat. Imagine if you were a cat or some other living being. Even you have done a lot of good karma to have a successful married and successful business life. A cat, unfortunately, cannot be a CEO. A cat cannot have a lot of, royal families because of the form that being is in. So karma can be changed because of the form of life you are in. Now, this is number 1. And number 2, Kala Sampatti, Kala Vipatti. Kala is time. That's a little broader sense, the period. Which period you're born in. I can't imagine being born during 1930s and 40s. I'm sure some of you, I don't know if you guys are that old. If you were born during that time, it's a chaotic time across the world. World War I, World War II, happening like 2 decades apart. It's a big disastrous time and people were scattered, a lot of disaster. Now, 100 years later, now we have much different time. So a person who was born in then, you cannot blame those people who are unfortunate or have bad karma just because they had that period. So depending on which period you are born, you may have different result. You can, get the result of your karma, or sometimes it delays or just disappears. That's the gati kala. That's the time, the period. And the third one is upadi sampatti, upadi vipatti. The upadi, the Pali term upadi means your appearance, your countenance, how you look. Now, if you are a handsome person, if you are a pretty woman, your karma can change just because your appearance. It's a very interesting story. In ancient time, a king decided to make his youngest son the king, and the other two brothers were furious. They couldn't stand, but the youngest one was the mischievous one. He likes to play, and his favorite game was it's a rooster fight. Have you guys seen that? They're like a very wild rooster. So he loves playing that game, and he was attending one of those games, and accidentally a rooster jumped on his face and made a big scar on his face. And king had to decide his decision. He was planning to make this youngest son king, but he lost royalty. Then nothing big happened. Everything was fine, but his appearance changed. So that tells, he was destined to be a king. Just because his appearance changed, he lost that opportunity. And same thing is true about the opposite. I don't know exactly, there's some nations, even recently, not born in royalty, just a regular, a typical woman, married a prince, and now is in royalty. It's in a bigger scale. But also applies to many other fields. And if you look at research, I know if a woman is taller, those women tend to get higher and better job than the shorter. It may not be true to 100%, but you can look into data. So your height matters, your appearance matters. And that goes back to what Buddha is saying, teaching, karma can change based on your appearance. Good and bad, suitability and unsuitability. So that's the third one. My favorite one is the fourth one. That is payoga sampatti, payoga vipatti. And payoga has to do with effort. Your effort, your interest to do something. And people can change their karma based on effort. So if you were born in a certain lifestyle, certain setting, you would change. And I think myself as a witness or a example of that effort. I was born in Nepal. I didn't have good influence when I was young. I didn't like to go to school. After going to Sri Lanka, things changed, the setting changed. And I was not the top in school when I was in Nepal. I barely passed classes. But after moving from one country to another, my setting changed and I put more effort. And I thrived in school and education. And here I am today, I'm teaching in a university. So effort changed whatever karma I had, and it's a different place now. So effort can change your karma. And that applies to good and bad. And there's another popular example in Sri Lanka. I'm sure Bante knows in more detail. There was a president. He was, I don't know how popular here in the United States that people like to predict their future. You read your palm. There's some kind of, I would say, pseudoscience. You read palm and you tell you're gonna live 80 years, something like that. So I can do a little bit too, just for fun. So you look at your palm and you predict your life length, your wealth, your health. They do those things. This president of the country, Premadasa, he went to one of the popular palm reader and he asked for, what do I do? How is my life? And he was told, you're not going to live until 40 something years. And being a president, of course, very ambitious to live longer, right? And he didn't like it. And he said, what can I do to change this? And this palm reader knew about Buddhist advice and he gave some tips. Aramaropa, Vanaropa, Yejana Setu Karaka. It's in Pali saying, do some civil work, do things for general population, build toilets, build different shelters. So that could change your karma. And he did it. I don't know if it is because what he did, but he lived longer than what he was supposed to live. So he changed. And to me, it's like worth a shot, right? Instead of just giving up, throwing your hands in the air, like, I don't know if I can change or if I can do. But giving that effort, he managed to change. He lived longer, but unfortunately, he was murdered by a Tamil Tiger, a terrorist, later. But he lived longer than what he was predicted to live, if that pseudoscience is true. Coming back to Buddha's advice, karma can be changed. We don't need to give up and say, oh, this is my karma, this is my life. And I think in English you said, this is my destiny. There's nothing like such. Every day is an opportunity to change. And Buddha gave that piece of advice. Yes, karma plays a big role. We are constantly feeling its effect day and night, good and bad, health and sickness. But you don't need to give in. You don't need to stop giving in or just stop making any effort. If you think of those, the form of life, of course, you are human beings. So we all have that opportunity that doesn't exist for other living beings, like cats and dogs and other animals. No matter how hard they try, cat is never going to be a tiger or lion. Cat is cat, no matter how big it grows. But a human can become a lot more. A normal guy in the street or in a small rural area can become a president and later become a big influence in the world. Like the Buddha, he was just a prince from a small city. He became the Buddha. He became a great teacher. And it's possible because we are human beings. And this time period is perfect. Look how advanced we are. Nothing stopped us. COVID-19 tried to change a lot. We did. We adapted. We are the most adaptable beings in the planet. So we adapted and we managed to find different ways to continue pursuing the goal and purpose of our life. And third one is appearance. So make sure you stay pretty. Make sure you stay handsome. Don't give up on that. Don't say like, oh, I'm old now, I'm just gonna let my beard grow. I'm not talking about you, Steve. So you look good. So you don't need to give up on that. Presentability, that matters, because that can change our karma. And the last one is effort. Don't give up. Keep trying, even in this path of the Buddha's teaching. If you're determined to become enlightened, you can. I will say you cannot if you're dead. If you're not dead, even in that moment or the process of dying, you can still be mindful and die mindfully. So there is still that opportunity. So these 4 factors can change our karma. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
I know. Yes, if you have any question, common, you can ask right now.
Hello?
Yes, Tom.
Yes, thank you so much. Where can I find the more written, I'm not sure how to spell the words that you were
Yes.
talking about. Is there any
kind
of source or something I can find?
I'm going to put it in chat. So if you look at that book, it's by Bhikkhu Bodhi. You can find it in English.
Okay.
There's this chapter called Category of Matter.
Okay.
Or Compendium of Matter. I think that's the correct word. So it should be under that chapter.
That's in his book, one of his books.
The book is called A Comprehensive Manual of Abhidhamma.
Okay.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank you. I appreciate your energy and your words and your time that you take for us. I can't always keep the video on because
that's fine, Joanna.
But I like seeing your face. So I
Oh,
turned
thank you
around
so
to
much,
talk to you.
Joanna. Thank you.
I just at the beginning you were saying, you know, everyone's so focused on. Oh, you want to say something?
Yeah, he or she has a comment too.
Yeah, there's a comment. You know, you were saying about like how everyone always focuses on the bad karma, and I always hear that among just my normal family community friends, like, oh, karma got to me, you know, this happened, or you know, that happened because of your karma. And I don't feel like every time having a conversation with them about it, but I appreciate how you were saying, you know, when good things happen, that's good karma too, you know, and people don't say that.
Yeah.
So
Treat karma as a good friend. You know, you cannot just complain to your friend. You need to compliment too. So
that's
treat
good.
karma as a
I
good
need to
friend
say
of
that. Yeah,
yours.
I need to say that. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Joanna. Thank you. Thank you for commenting on that.
Could you go more into the number two, the time, the period you're going into, how that affects karma?
Tom, I think it was a little not clear what you were saying, probably the mic. Can you try it again?
Yes, the time you were born in is number two. How does that impact your karma?
So it's, you know, when we are in this cycle of samsara, we have done different levels of good and bad karma. Now, if you're born in a period, there is not enough conditions to produce result of your good karma, that would affect the karma that you have brought. For example, people, those who were born, I'd use example during 1920s and 30s, 100 years back, it was during not very advanced technology in terms of medical and, you know, transportation. So we cannot say they were born short life. You know, we look at the lifespan. Now lifespan in different countries, it varies, but it's from 70, 80, 90, that's lifespan. But during that time, it may not be average. People didn't live that long, not because they didn't have good karma, just because the period they were born in. So people, those who died shorter than the amount of number of years they should live, they couldn't live. The karma got interrupted because they were born in such a difficult period. And now, for example, if I know, you know, my wife works with a lot of disabled children with disabilities, and if they were born during even 20, 30 years back, I don't think those kids will live as long as they could live now, because the advanced technology, all the facilities they have. So they manage to live longer now, not because they have good or bad karma, just because of the period. We have these other conditions that can change how much, you know, whatever I'm using as a the lifespan as an example, that could affect in many ways. So the period can affect our karma.
Thank you.
I hope I was clear with your question, Tom.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you.
Yes.
I had some comments and a question. Thank you, Tom. I posted something up here because I just came across this. I'm in graduate school and I was doing some research on a paper, and I
Okay.
posted it up here. I found a great sutta in the Pali tradition called the trumpet, the conch trumpet, or sounding the
Yeah.
conch. And it goes into a lot of detail where the Buddha talked about that specific question to a very intelligent tribal leader who asked him a lot of questions about that in terms of the amount of time when we do something bad and then the amount of time where we're not really doing anything bad. And the Buddha explained how important developing loving kindness was in transforming our bad karma. So anyway, I can't explain the sutra, but I just posted it up there for people to read. And I had one question and I wanted to make a comment because I love stories. but that monk Anagamala, or whatever, the wreath of 1,000 fingers, you know.
Mhm.
From what I learned, his teacher was very evil. His teacher was psychic, and his teacher told him to kill because he thought if he becomes enlightened, he'll take all his students away. And students are very important for the survival of this teacher. So, and then when he saw the Buddha, he tried to chase the Buddha, but no matter how fast he ran, he couldn't reach the Buddha. And that's when the Buddha said that he wasn't running, but he couldn't reach him. So that's a beautiful story. And then I want to ask one question, and I want to thank you for your optimistic, very positive, energetic, the positive energy, very important. So I'm 74. I've been a Buddhist for quite a long time, and as an American Buddhist, we hear everything from A to Z. We didn't really come from a Buddhist culture, so every different culture, every group, they always think we have the right idea. We look at the Buddha's right viewed the right way, but I try to get along. But I finally realized it's very unhealthy to judge karma, to think karma, and I made an idea with myself that only Buddha could really understand karma. For me, the view of karma and from moment to moment is not a very beneficial idea. I do believe in that, but I see so many wonderful people that have disabilities, so I think there's more to the picture. And I'll make one more statement, then I want to get your opinion. But for me now, I feel like from your lecture, there is a karmic force that's conditioned, but there's a tremendous unconditioned element too. And we kind of stand in the middle. We have potentiality, and our mind must encompass everything because we can change. So there's an unconditioned element, and then there's a beautiful aspect of human of being a being where we're kind of combining karma and dharma, or unconditioned. So that's very beautiful. But I just wanted to ask you, do you think it's better to think for yourself? How does thinking for ourselves and that dynamic of the thought process of thinking
Mr.
have to do
Paskar,
with practice?
yes, if you have question, please ask. We are running the time.
That was my question. Did you hear me?
Can you repeat your question? Just the question?
The question part was, how does thinking for ourselves, which to me seems so important in the modern world, how does that relate to dharma and karma? The act of willful thinking, to think for ourselves, like to use our own intelligence.
Oh yeah, that's
How does that
okay.
relate to what you was talking about and dharma in general? That was my question. Sorry, I talked too
That's
long.
good. You're good. You're good. What's your name?
Pasquale.
Pasquale. Thank you, Pasquale, for sharing that link. It's a beautiful sutta, Sankhya Sutta, and yes, the story that you filled in a little bit more. There's a different versions of the sutta. The bottom line is Angulimala got misguided, so he lost his path. Could be because of friends, could be because of his teacher. So coming back to like the fear and thinking about karma as somewhat negative connotation into it is because of misunderstanding, and different culture, different Buddhist school brings different ideas. So I want to tell, since we were talking about karma last 20 minutes, that karma is 1/5 of the factors that acts in our world. So there are 5 of them, Utu, Bija, Chitta, Kamma, and Dhamma. So I can go on detail later in a different talk. So Chitta, Kamma is just 1 out of 5 different, we call law of nature, that affects our life. And there are other 4 factors that can play a role. So whatever happens to us is not all karma. We don't consider, as Buddhists, it would be very wrong and misrepresentation of the Buddha if you tell that everything happening around us is because of karma. Rain doesn't happen because of karma. It has its own law. You know, the tree of seed turning into a tree. It doesn't happen by karma. There is its own law. So, and our mind, you know, our mind functions because of its own law. It's a law of mind. It's not because all karma. So we can go in detail about those 5. And the question, like, is it, so what about the idea of free will and thinking for yourself? It's very important and you should do. And it is not, as long as you don't turn into, there's a fear we have, like a 3 problem, right? Anicca, dukkha, anatma. Those are 3 main concepts that Buddha tried to promote. Anicca, if you think that things are permanent, that's a problem. So we are taught, and from our experience, we should know things are impermanent. And when things are impermanent, it will cause some kind of dissatisfaction. That's the dukkha. And the third, that's where I think Pascal's question, you know, thinking the idea of free will and thinking about yourself, it's very important to do so. And it can go on different routes, but thinking about yourself, in Sanskrit, in Pali, we call atmartakami. So thinking well-being of yourself, that's important. And that free will, well, again, it's very philosophical if you go in detail, because we are constantly influenced by different thoughts and ideas that we accumulated from the past, and that can influence whatever you call this free will. So it may not be pure to yourself. It is, again, conditioned from previous experience. So we have to humble yourself. We need to be humble when we think like, I have my free will. Yes, it is free to some extent. It's not pure. It's not just all on yourself. And I think Pascal is asking, thinking for ourselves instead of believing what others say. That's very important. That's extremely important, Pascal. If you are asking, you know, using your consciousness, using your knowledge, wisdom, intelligence to make decision, make judgment about other ideas, that's what Buddha promoted. You know, if you know, I always say majority is not always right, because majority could be just misguided by a lot of influences. And Buddha was the anomaly in compared to majority. In his time, he was going total against the traditional, the orthodox teaching. He took a different route. So he thought about, you know, discovering his knowledge, and he gave himself that opportunity, and that's how he was able to find the path. So, however, being said that does not mean you reject everything. You don't want to be naysayer. You don't want to be very, I don't know the term, the rejectionist, if that is a term. You don't need to reject everything. You have to take the question, and I'll tell this last piece and I can stop there. Buddha advised once to all the monks, you know, people will say good and bad things about me. That means the Buddha. You know, when they say good thing or bad thing about your teacher, the Buddha, you neither have to reject it, you nor have to accept it. Take it as it is and go back to my teaching and compare with the Vinaya, compare with the Sutta, compare with the Abhidhamma. And if whatever they said is parallel to what I have taught, and they match with letter to letter, then you accept it and you praise whoever told you. And if it does not match, you just reject. You don't go back and, you know, how the hell you could say this and that. You don't need to go and pull fight with them. So Buddha's advice is simple. You know, whenever people say something, you don't need to get offended or start defending. Take it as it is, and you know where to go and examine yourself. And if it is not acceptable, totally illogical, totally unethical, just reject and move on your path. And we can have more discussion in the future. Thank you so much. I don't want to continue, but thank you so much for your great questions.
Thank you, Sailesh. Thank you again, and hope to see you soon. Maybe next month, maybe after next month. Thank you again for everybody. I know you have a lot of questions about the karma. We can talk some other time. We don't have time today. Thanks again for everybody. And we're going to chant the page 4 and page 10. By the way, next Sunday, which is, I believe, the 20, last Sunday of this month, Stephen Subodha is going to give a Dhamma talk. Please join us that day also. Right now, we are going to chant the page 4 and page 10.
Thank you, Bante, for having me. I'll see you
Thank
later,
you,
Bante.
Sailesh, again. Okay, see you. Take care, okay?
You too, Bante. Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
Bye. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. Sentient beings are numberless, I vow to save them all. Deluding persons are inexhaustible, I vow to end them all. Dharma gates are limitless, I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme, I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fearless of fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find help relief. May all merits be extended to everyone, that we together with all beings may gain Buddha's way. Mani Padme. By the power of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, you all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.